Probably the most requested video is how to clean a gas blowback pistol or rifle. I'm not even getting to Daytonas because Daytona's very different. Not very different, but it's a little different compared to a regular gas blowback rifle. Um, so that's gonna be a totally separate video I can do. That actually probably be a little simpler. But for now, we'll stick to regular gas blowback rifles and pistols. I am the only non-Daytona rifle I have that's gas blowback right now is my M14. That will still kind of translate over to a gas blowback M4. I am getting a GHK gas blowback M4 soon, so then I'll probably revisit this for gas blowback M4s. But for now, the M14 will do, and it will still semi-translate over to a regular M4 other gas blowback rifle. First thing I want to get out the way is green gas. Don't know how much flack I'm gonna get for this, but if you use green gas and you don't have to use green gas, don't use it. Green gas is a scam. You're pretty much using propane, and the only difference between propane and green gas is propane has the added, I think it's sulfur or whatever, to make it smelly, so it's a safety reason, and it doesn't have silicone oil. Green gas doesn't have that additive smell feature, but has silicone oil. And anybody in airsoft who has somewhat of knowledge on upkeep of guns or their guns, they know whether AEG or not, no matter what operating system you have, whether there's AEG, gas blowback, Springer, fucking HPA, no matter if it's a Polar Star or whatever, everyone knows not to get any lubricant inside your bucking and your inner barrel. Now let that sink in. You don't want any lubricant inside your bucking or your inner barrel. When you shoot green gas, which has silicone oil in it, where does most of that gas and oil go when you shoot? To your bucking and inner barrel. I can personally attest, maybe with pistols, which I'm not gonna lie, I've run green gas in my pistols a lot for indoors. It's not so much of an issue because the amount of gas volume needed to operate a pistol or submachine gun or whatever, the amount of gas required is not so much, so you won't see the effects of it as fast. But when I used to run a regular gas blowback M4 at my indoor field, since I couldn't use propane because it was against the rules, I had to use green gas. And I shit you not, every 2 matches or so, I would see a definite effect of all that oil buildup on my accuracy. My BBs were barely hopping, their BBs were flying left and right because of all the oil buildup. So every 2 matches, or in between even every match, just to make sure, I would have to run a cleaning rod with rubbing alcohol through it to clean it out and make sure there was no oil buildup. So it's kind of a pain in the ass. But that's for rifles, because rifles have a stiffer spring. They have a bigger bolt that they have to move, so it's requiring more gas and blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, green gas is a scam. If you can avoid using it, don't use it. I know there's green gas that they sell that has like little to no oil in it, but I think in the US that's a little harder to find. I've heard of it though. But yeah, try to use something else. Use guns with CO2 mags. HPA or whatever if you can. Just try not to use green gas if you can. On the topic of CO2, yes, with CO2 guns, you do have to pay more attention to cleaning and lubricating your seals because CO2 is a very dry gas. But if you properly do regular maintenance on your gas blowbacks as is, running CO2 will be no issue because you're already doing the proper maintenance. So let's start off with pistols. Doesn't matter what pistol you have. I just have my 1911 just to show. I'm not gonna do a full cleaning. Like, I'm not gonna show you how I clean everything and go through everything. Like, I'm not gonna show you, but I'll tell you. So obviously you field strip your gun and get everything apart as far as you can or as necessary, right? You clean all the parts, you clean inside of the bucking and the inner barrel. You run. I generally use rubbing alcohol to clean these guns, even if it's not just a hop up or bucking. I use it to sort of degrease and break up the old lube and clean it out with a rag. And so once everything is clean and free of lube, that's when I start in the process of lubing. So for a pistol, the only thing I lube, as in terms of the actual like firing mechanism, are the cup seals inside the nozzle. Just put a few drops of silicone oil, whatever's safe for O-rings. I use Get Some 1000, very beat up bottle. I've had this for over a year now, but I use Get Some 1000. It's really great, not just for seals and O-rings, but it's actually pretty decent on metal to metal contact. So I just put a couple drops on there, make sure that has a good amount of lube so it stays, so it doesn't dry out pretty much. And for seals, that's it. Other than that, you could use whatever lube you like for the metal on metal. For the slide rails, I personally use, for metal on metal, I use Seal P. This is pretty much made for real guns. But you do want to make sure that whatever you're using for your metal on metal, if it is not safe for O-rings, which I'm really damn sure this is not safe for O-rings, is to make sure you don't get it on your O-rings. So if you don't feel comfortable, if you feel like you're gonna mess that up, then you can use whatever you use. I just know for silicone oil and stuff like that, it doesn't evaporate, but it rubs off way too easily. So a lot of that metal on metal, you have to pay more attention to it. But if you use something, I know some people you like to use, I think it's like white lithium grease. They use that and swear by it. I just use this stuff because that's what I've always been using for my firearms. So, but if you are using something for metal on metal that is not silicone based, do not get it on your O-rings. But pretty much all I do is I put it on the rails. I put some inside the hammer group. Wherever there's metal moving parts, I put some. So that's for pistols. And for magazines for pistols, especially if there's CO2, I use the Get Some 1000, or if I can find my spray bottle, I use silicone spray. I'll show you in a second. So with CO2 pistols, a lot of reasons your mags start leaking is because you didn't properly lubricate the O-rings inside the magazine. It's so hard to do looking through a camera. So pretty much all I do, let's say this is empty, there's no CO2 cartridge in it. What I'll do is I'll take some, I get some 1000, I'll put it a little bit around the top gasket seal, I'll put some inside the valve itself, and since there's no gas in here, well, there's gas in this one, but let's say yours is empty completely, just push the output valve, just push it a few times to let the oil inside go inside the valve. So push that a few times, and then the seal at the bottom where the punctures, just put a little bit there too, and then we're ready to load it up. Another note, keeping mags with gas inside, CO2 or green gas or whatever, I always do. A lot of people say, oh, don't leave your mags filled with gas, especially CO2. Whatever your theory is, whatever you say, whatever, I do it. I've been using CO2 and green gas guns for my whole airsoft career. I have had one AEG that I just sort of fucked around with a little bit, but I've always used, from the beginning, gas blowback guns. And I've always kept gas in the mags. Either like a legit full charge or a half charge, doesn't matter, I've always kept gas in my magazines. The only time I've had mags leak on me are when they've been empty and sitting for a long time. So I'll take some gas blowback mags, and I haven't used that gun in a while, and I'll forget to fill the mags when I put them away or whatever. But when I go to take those mags that have been sitting for a long time and they've been empty, and I go to fill them, that's when they leak. So even CO2 or not, rifle or pistol, the only mags I've had leak are ones that I've left empty for a long time, whether it be a month or two. So comment whatever you fucking like, I don't care. I always keep my mags with a charge inside of them. Now for rifle, like I said, I do not have a regular gas blowback AR platform right now, or as of yet, so I'm just gonna show you on the M14, because that's the closest thing I have right now. It's pretty much similar except for how it comes apart. But just like the pistol, I just put just a little bit of, let me see if I can do this somehow without fucking chomping my finger. Come here. So, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this. Let me bring it up. Got the O-ring at the back of the nozzle. Just put a little bit of that gets some, or whatever silicone oil you have, put a little bit on there. And that's it. For the metal on metal though, depending on what gas blowback rifle you have, you basically just put it all over the bolt. All over the bolt. Underside, top side, especially where you see it rubs up against the receiver, where it rides on the receiver, put lube. And then for charging handle wise, M14, you got your action bar there, so just put lube where the action bar is and where the op rod rides, and you're pretty much good to go. But it all translates over anywhere you go. Obviously you want to make sure you clean everything with rubbing alcohol, especially inside the inner barrel and the bucking. And once you get everything clean with rubbing alcohol, the only places you'll put lube is on the O-rings on the nozzles I showed you, with the cup seal, and on the metal to metal. So that's pretty much it. Especially, you know, you want to put some oil in the trigger unit, around the pins, and wherever it makes contact. I haven't cleaned this gun in a while, but just like the pistols, the only time I use the silicone or the silicone safe or O-ring safe oil is on the actual seals themselves, or the actual O-rings in the nozzle. Everywhere else I use CLP because it's just more viscous, so it doesn't rub away as easily. It's a little longer lasting than the Getson 1000. Let me just show you. Actually, I could just show you. Let me rub my hand. Just put a little drop. See if I can focus it. Focus. Focus. Come on. Focus. There we go. So you got the little bit of oil. As you see, kind of rubs off kind of easily. So if it's inside where there's an O-ring, the O-ring will soak it up a little bit. But for the CLP, it's a little thicker and it lasts a little bit longer, but it is not safe. It is not safe for O-rings. So as you can see, it lasts a little bit longer on my finger. I mean, it's still there. You can still see it's shining. So that's what I use, and it smells amazing. I love CLP. But yes, pretty much quick overview. The only time you should be using silicone oil or silicone grease or whatever is on an actual O-ring or rubber gasket, except for your bucking. Don't get it on your, you can get it, let's say you're installing a bucking, you can put a little bit around the outside just to keep it from drying out. But inside your bucking, keyword inside, do not get any fucking oil. As for metal on metal, use whatever you like. You could use WD-40 if you even want to, or that 3-in-1 oil you get at your Ace Hardware. Whatever you prefer to use. I just use what I use in real steel because shit, it fucking works for real steel. But just make sure if you're gonna use something that's not silicone based for your metal on metal, just make sure you don't get it inside your O-rings or seals or whatever. But for mags, like I said, just put a little bit of that silicone oil inside the valve, push the valve open and close a little bit to get it like spread around, put a little bit on your gasket. If you have a green gas mag, take a little bit, put it on the fill valve, and then just charge it a little bit with some gas and make sure that that oil on your fill valve gets in your fill valve. What else? Green gas is a scam, went over that. How to clean your guns, went over that. Magazines, pretty much done. I'll do a video on Daytonas. I even thought about showing how I clean my DM870, but that's pretty much almost like a real gun, so that doesn't matter. I just use CLP all over the whole gun itself, outside, inside, that's all CLP. The only time you would use silicone grease is for the actual shells, but those are the shells, those aren't the gun itself. But yeah, I'll do a cleaning video of my Daytonas probably separately because that's a different world in its own. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. If you have your own way of doing things, or if you have an argument, please don't comment because I really don't give a fuck. I've been doing gas blowbacks for years now. So I think I know what I'm talking about. But if you really want to know, my history is I've been using gas blowbacks since 2012. Pretty much whenever I turned 18 and I was able to get my own airsoft gun, I've been using gas blowbacks. So, and I've been using Daytonas for about a year, so I'm not perfect with that. That's why I'm going to do a whole separate video. But yeah, that is my video. If you have any recommendations for lubes, please comment below so other people can see. If you have recommendations for your silicone oil that you use for your O-rings or seals or whatever, please. If you know it works for sure. I don't want people who've only been using gas blowbacks for like 3 months commenting, oh, I use this, because to be honest, you don't have much experience. But if you or somebody else who uses gas blowback seriously, please let the commenters know what silicone oils you use, and let me know what you use on your metal on metal. I mean, I'm always gonna use CLP, but you know, let people know.